Steve, tell me what's going on in California, what's going on in regards to insurance, new homes. Tell me what your thoughts are in regards to California.
Yeah, so California is a complete disaster right now, as everybody knows. But the biggest impact right now is with insurance. I mean, what are they going to do out there with this insurance? Because people are afraid to buy houses. The average person, I mean, if you're super wealthy, it don't matter. But if you're the average person in California right now and you're going to buy a house, you have no idea what your payment is going to be in 6 months.
Just because of the insurance.
The insurance. In fact, now, like we talked about, low-risk people are being forced on the California Fair Program, which is supposed to be high-risk last resort. Well, because these insurance companies are done with California. They left. They're leaving. And the insurance companies that are left are saying, listen, we're not going to insure all these people. So now these people are going to their insurance company and saying, yeah, I'm buying a new house. Can you insure me? Oh, no, we're done. What do you mean? Yeah, we're not taking on any new clients. Yeah, but I have an existing with you. Yeah, sorry, we're not doing it. We're done. Well, now those people are now forced on the California Fair Program. Well, the California Fair Program is, on average, 300 to 400% more than the average private, public insurance, like State Farm or whatever. So California's like, the California Fair Program is 300 to 400% more. So, and guess what? Here's the funny thing. The California Fair Program is charging 300 to 400% more than the publicly traded and private insurance companies, and they're still broke. So the California Fair Program is broke, and the other insurance companies are leaving. So what does that tell you? That tells you that California, those insurance companies, even if they raise their rates by 300 or 400%, it's still not enough money. Because you have California Fair Program that is broke, that's charging 300 to 400% more. So now we know that the California laws or regulations to regulate how much the insurance companies could charge, that directly impacts the price of the homes. Because what was going on is California, the state of California, has been subsidizing the insurance cost for homeowners. So now homeowners were paying more for those houses than they would have, because at the end of the day, all people care about is payment. So because their insurance was artificially low for California, they were willing to pay more for that house. So you know what? I'm going to buy that house for $2 million, and my payment's going to be, $8,000 all in. Property taxes, insurance, all that. Well, because the insurance was so low, that payment was artificially low at $8,000. Well, now that the insurance companies are saying, hey, we can't do that anymore. We're going to have to charge at least a little bit more. So now people buying houses, I'm not going to pay $2 million for that house anymore. So I'm going to pay $1.3 because my insurance now is $2,000 a month, not $500 a month.
Are you telling me that someone, like, let's just say this is, I'm about to say extremely wealthy people, but it's not even true for California. If a payment's $8,000 a month and they have insurance right now, for it going up, do you think that payment's what, $10,000?
It depends on where they're at. It depends if they're in a new fire zone. It depends on if their insurance company is done with them.
Okay.
That's the problem. People don't know what their payment is going to be 6 months, 12 months from now.
Because they're reorganizing, they're restructuring the where areas?
Well, yeah, they have no idea, because everyone knows that the insurance was artificially low in California. Okay. So if your payment was artificially low because your insurance cost was artificially low, that means the price that you paid for the house is artificially high. So California has been subsidizing home prices for the last 20 years. So now we know for a fact, because of the California Fair Program, that these insurance companies are not making enough. Let's make it real simple. If these insurance companies were making so much money, why would they leave California? Who cares? Forget about, they're lying, he's lying, they're lying. Well, all you got to do is, if they were making money, they wouldn't be leaving.
So they're not making money. I guess this leads to another thing. Is like, these days, how do people even afford California? Because when we're looking for a family member. I mean, the average condo is like $1 million. So if it's 30-year financing, and it's at least, if the interest rate is 7%, it's like at least $7,000 a month.
Well, yeah, that's why the transactions in California, I think, are the lowest in 30 years or something ridiculous.
How much do you think $1 million home right now, basically with interest and taxes, insurance, isn't that like a $10,000 payment?
Well, it depends on what the insurance. The insurance is the big factor.
No matter
now.
what, if it's 7% interest rate, it's right for every $100,000, it's $700
Correct. So,
times 10, 7,000
right.
plus insurance and taxes. So isn't that like a $10,000 payment?
Yes.
So
yes,
how does the
At
average
least
person
because
afford that?
insurance, they don't. That's why the transactions are so low. And a lot of people that own homes in California have been there for 10, 20, 30 years. I mean, think Orange
much
County
lower
has,
payment.
much lower payment, much lower price. But also, don't forget they got Prop 13, so their property taxes have been pretty much frozen with a little bit of an increase over the past 10, 15, 20, 30 years, right? I mean, you could go buy a $2 million house in San Diego right now, and your neighbor who bought 30 years ago might be paying, I don't know, $2,000 a year of property taxes, $3,000, whatever. But when you buy that new house for 2.5, you're paying $25,000, $30,000 a year in property taxes. So if I'm that person at $2,000, I'm not gonna sell that house because the taxes are so low, right? And in addition, your insurance had been artificially low for so long, but the insurance problem is they're gonna have to figure that out. And a lot of people have been, since the last fires, a lot of people have been put in these new fire zones. They've extended the fire zone, which has made their insurance gone up.
I feel like there's no way around it. Like, where else do you go? I mean, it's kind of like California's kind of like almost bankrupt. They can't keep subsidizing, right?
Well,
How much do you keep subsidizing if it keeps...
They've reached the limit where they can't raise taxes anymore on people because they've had enough. They can't afford to do that. I mean, look with the Medicaid thing, right? Just a few years ago, I think it was 18 or 24 months ago, California was saying, "Oh, we got a $56 billion surplus." Myself and many others, that's not true. Come on, those are fake numbers. Come on, we know. Let's see the real numbers. And look, not even 2 years later, now they're in a big deficit, and it's more than they're saying. I mean, they don't know where they put $20 billion to the homeless they can't find, right? Mm-hmm. Then they have their Medicaid is in a hole by $13 billion. They want to raise taxes there. You can't raise taxes anymore, folks. I mean, businesses are leaving that have been there for 50 to 100 years. Don't forget, when you raise taxes on the people and on these property taxes and insurance, the insurance rates are going up for businesses too, right? Because you have high crime, you have high vandalism, you have high regulation. I mean, if you're a business in California, it's a huge disadvantage. And now with the gas taxes going up, it's just never ending. And then they're shutting down 2 refineries. If you're a manufacturer or a company in California, what are you going to do? Your power's going up. Your gas is going up. Your insurance is going up. Your taxes is going up. I mean, what's not going up? Your cost of labor is going up because they're raising minimum wage to astronomical levels out there. Because their policies made it so expensive for people to live, they're trying to put that on the back of the employers. Employers are just leaving. So, I mean, just today, Paul Mitchell, that hair place, they're taking all their headquarters, all their people, they're going to Texas.
So someone that's
Blue Diamond Almonds in Northern California just recently. Their plant has been there for like 100 years. They're leaving. They're not leaving. They're shutting down that plant. They're like, "Oh, we can't do this." All these companies like too much regulation, too much taxes. I mean, the regulation alone is a nightmare. And then you have all these riots going on in LA. What do you think these small businesses are going to do? Look at all these restaurants that have been around for 50, 60 years in LA that are shutting down now. It's crazy.
So basically, bottom line is it's time to move to Vegas.
Well, you see that. The Great California Exodus is continuing. The only thing that's... the reason why the California Exodus is stalled right now is because it's a hard time people selling their houses out there. They're having a hard time selling their houses because people are afraid to buy a house because they don't know what their cost is going to be. Hey, Dave, let's go buy this new house right here. What's my payment going to be in 6 months? Oh, I don't know. Was it going to be $100 more? Is it going to be $500,000? I don't know. That's what the people are facing in many parts of California right now because of insurance. And I'm talking about places that had no issues with insurance before. I mean, look at the Pacific Palisades. That's a perfect example. What has California done since the fires happened in LA to cause insurance companies to reduce their rate? Nothing. In fact, they've made it worse. And AI is going around to all these locations that said, yeah, that's a high property, that's a high problem, that's a high problem. AI is determining all this stuff now.
What do they use AI these days in regards to determine with the fire companies whether or not statistically they're more likely to have a fire?
Well, AI has so much, and so all that information was available before, but it was too hard for humans to put it together, right?
To extract.
You'd have this. So now AI can put everything together. I mean, look how good AI was, where they notified, I think it was State Farm, canceled 60 or 70% of their policies in Pacific Palisades or something.
Oh, prior,
just a few months before the fire. Well, yeah, AI would determine, wait a minute, your fire hydrants that weren't working in Ventura, you haven't figured that out anywhere. So that's the fire hydrants are still a problem. You laid off all these people from the fire department. You have all these trucks that aren't working. You have infrastructure that isn't being maintained, like the dams. And when was the last time you cleaned this clear brush? And when was the last time you cleared all these fire roads? You haven't. AI put all this stuff together. And it wasn't just the Pacific Palisades. There's other places, too, that have been canceled because AI saying, hey, this, you cut the budget, you did this. I mean, look, Newsom cut, $100 million or hundreds of millions of dollars from cleaning up dead brush. I mean, there was a stat that there's 160 million dead trees laying in California right now. That's the craziest thing ever. That is fuel for future fires. But one of the main things also they're using AI for is water damage on houses, because that's their biggest cost is water damage. So you have a little leak here and there that costs, $10, $20, $30, $40,000. And with the maintenance, the regulations, the laws, the cost of labor in California, what used to be a $10,000, $20,000 job in 2019 in California is now $50,000 to $70,000. Well, we're supposed to eat that? No, we're not going to eat that. We're going to leave. And that's what's going on. And State Farm just asked for another 17% increase after a 25%. There's so many increases now I can't keep track.
I mean, the bottom is, I guess there's no, if you were the mayor or the governor of California, what would you do? I see that Grant Cardone wants to run for, I think, governor.
Yeah.
What do you do?
It's a simple fix. Let the free market work. Get rid of all these crazy regulations. Get rid of these caps on what insurance companies can charge. Because guess what? You're going to have a flood of insurance companies come in, and they're going to charge too much. No, they're not. Because they're going to want the business. They're going to charge how they can make money. And guess what? Another company's going to come in. Oh, you know what? We want to make 20%. Oh, that's expensive. They're gouging the people. But guess what? Another insurance company is going to come in and say, oh, no, we agree. That's too much. We're going to do it for 10% return. And then you have all these companies competing, and what does that do? That drives down the rates. That drives down the cost. But more importantly, you have more insurance companies in California, which means the insurance companies have a lower risk because now they get to the risk instead of having, do I want to insure 1,000 homes in a 1,000-home neighborhood in Lake Tahoe? No, that's too risky. But if you have, 500 insurance companies insuring, 2 homes in Lake Tahoe, 2 homes in this mountain, 2 homes in this area, now, you know what? My risk is diversified. So if there is a major fire, I'm only losing 2 homes. I'm not losing 1,000.
Now, does this affect us in basically for Vegas, for people that are Clark County? People are moving here, but does it affect our insurance as well?
Well, technically they say it doesn't, but I mean, common sense says in order to cover their losses in California,
they're going to increase all over.
They're going to increase all over. They're not supposed to, but I mean, let's be real. They are somehow, some ways, right?
How do you
secondary
feel
insurance
taxes are right now in Vegas for regular homes? I mean, technically, it's still less than 1%.
The property taxes in Vegas are okay. It's nothing. They're okay. They're not.
That was less than 1%. Still,
it comes out to less than 1%. The property taxes are good compared to other parts of the country, but what are they doing with our property taxes?
Good question.
We might have low property taxes, but
where's the money going?
Where's the money going?
It's crazy. In New York City, where I'm from, basically, where my parents lived, they lived like in a townhome. The home maybe is worth today $800,000-$900,000, but basically it was $1,000 a month in taxes.
Yeah,
I mean $12,000, and that's nothing. If you go to Long Island, it's $25,000 or $30,000. Which it's insane if you think about it, right? If you had an extra $2,000 a month, even if you lived in an apartment, you could live like a king at $2,000 a month in Vegas compared to just paying $2,000 in taxes plus your mortgage and so on. But it's just astronomical, the money that we pay on tax. And that's the reason why I moved out to Vegas is, I figure the cost of living, the state tax, no city tax, right? All these things. But
look at New York. All the big taxpayers they lost. I mean, Miami's going to be the new New York.
I mean, it's just crazy what's going on.
And it'd be different. People wouldn't complain. Like we just had a client that moved from San Francisco a couple years ago, and he said he was he's worth over $300 million. He's kind of well known in the tech industry. He won awards and stuff. And so he came out here, and he lived in San Francisco, and we said, "Oh, you're coming out here because of the taxes." He's like, "No, not really the taxes. Yeah, the taxes are a lot, but we make a lot. I mean, how much money do you need, right? I don't mind paying, and there's ways around, paying super high taxes." He's like, "The reason why me and all my friends are leaving the city and California, what are you doing with our taxes? We're paying all this money. We're paying all this money to the state of California. And I walk out my high rise and I see homeless. I see needles. I'm driving down the street under the overpass. I see homeless. I go to a restaurant. People are coming in homeless, trying to take food off my plate. There's complete disarray. My grocery stores have been closed. I can't go down to the pharmacy. I'm out of here. What are they doing with our taxes? What are they doing with our money? I don't mind paying this if I have clean streets. I can safely walk. I can go to dinner without being disturbed. I can go to a grocery store. They don't have any of those amenities. None. It's all shut down. And now we're finding out, oh yeah, that $25 billion that was supposed to go to fix this, it's all gone. Where'd it go? They don't know. Crazy. And so if you're a high taxpayer out there, you're like, wow, look at all that money. And look what's going on in Los Angeles right now. Federal judges are asking, what did you guys do with all this money? Where is this? Corruption at its finest. Where did all that money go? We got to go open one of those homeless NGOs and take all this money and do what? What do they do? You got to become the way to become a multimillionaire today in the West Coast is become a homeless advocate and then become a homeless company that solves homelessness. You'll become a multimillionaire, maybe a billionaire.
I know a few people that work on that aspect because it's through insurance, right? They're paying for each body that they house or that they help.
Look at the government grants.
Yeah.
Look at some of these. They're building these homeless things in LA. I think they're $500,000 a unit or $600,000 a unit. Are you kidding me right now?
It's just sad because, the homeless people in general really want to be on the street. Most of them suffer from mental illness.
Correct. You got to take care of the mental illness. These people are putting them in, and it's making the problem worse because now they're doing the same behavior, but now they're in these locations.
Condos.
Yeah. And you've seen the interviews. We've seen all the interviews, a lot of interviews with these people. You're right. A lot of people are like, why would I do this? I get 3 meals a day. I can do drugs anytime I want. I get free needles. I don't got no stress.
The problem is it's very hard to get someone off the street that has suffered from mental illness, even if you're giving them a condo or a house or something.
No, you can't. You got to get them therapy and treatment.
The problem is most of them wouldn't want to really go.
Well, what happened is, people can look this up. I don't know the exact details, but I think Reagan or someone like 20 or 30 years ago, one of the governors of California they filed a lawsuit that said these people that are mentally that have mental problems, you can't take them off the street and give them help. It's against their rights or whatever. So there was like, wait a minute. So these people need help. You're blocking it, and now they're harming other people. Mm-hmm. Craziest thing I've ever seen.
Okay, Steve, tell me, I saw in the news basically the NAR, basically the settlement. It's been almost a year. Tell me exactly what's going on. Give me an update what's going on, whether for local consumers that are buying homes or for realtors as well.
So the settlement is almost a year now, and they said it was going to bring, these attorneys said, it's going to bring down commissions. But nothing could be farther from the truth. Commissions have skyrocketed, they've soared. Many different reasons. I mean, right now we're seeing, and it's kind of funny because right now there's an attorney that is suing, appealing the settlement, right? But this attorney is for the homeowner saying that the settlement wasn't good enough for them. They're only getting $20 a person, and they want the judge to basically reopen it, right? All the technical terms, whatever. So that right, it's kind of on hold right now, right? And to see the full results of it. But right now, what we're seeing, commissions have gone up quite a bit. And for several different reasons. I think one of the main reasons is clear cooperation policy. That was a policy that was put in about 4 years ago. So right when the settlement, or right when the lawsuits were starting, NAR was pretty smart. They put in this clear cooperation policy that puts up a lot of barriers for consumers to put on other websites and stuff. And so that some say has stifled competition, which when you stifle competition, it increases commissions, which has helped realtors a lot. And then the other thing is lead generation companies. Lead generation companies have taken advantage of the clear cooperation policy, have taken advantage of the new rules that were put in for the settlement. Everyone was supposed to use these buyer broker agreements with commissions. Well, a lot of lead generation companies are like, hey, we're not part of the lawsuit. You work with us. We're going to do these agreements so they don't have the commissions, right? So we don't need to follow the buyer broker agreements with the commissions on there. And this is coming up in the appeal too. So now, before the commissions were on the MLS and the average, was anywhere in Vegas from 1.75 to 2.5. NAR said a while ago that the common commission for buyer side was the traditional side was 2.5%. Well, I think you can ask any realtor right now. It's the buyer side now is 3% and more. They say there's no standard or whatever, but I think, I get, in the last 40 offers I've gotten, I think 39 have been 3% on the buyer side. The buyer puts it on it's now in the contract, so all the agents are asking for 3% now. One reason why is because all the lead generation companies are doing it because they got to pay a split, right? So if I'm a lead generation company agent, I got to get 3% because I got to pay off that big referral. So the agents that aren't working with the lead generation companies are like, hey, wait a minute. These guys have a lot of market share. They're doing it. So the buyers are seeing 3, 3, 3, 3. Well, that's created the market to where, hey, we can do this now. Where before in the MLS, like I said, it was mostly 1.75, 2.5. It wasn't really negotiable. But I would like to see all the contracts that were put in out of these title companies on what the average buyer commission is now on the buyer side compared to where. And a lot of the reason why is, like I said, most of the settlement agents aren't adhering to it, what was supposed to be. You can't expect when the biggest companies aren't following the settlement guidelines and, getting the commission before you're touring. Mm-hmm. You can't expect the smaller agents, the smaller companies, and the boutique companies to follow it because it puts them at a distinct disadvantage. For example, a buyer calls me and I say, hey, you got to sign this buyer broker agreement and this has the commission, what I'm going to charge. Oh, no, I don't have to sign that. Well, and then I give them the whole spill on why, blah, blah, blah. Well, no, that's not true because I just talked to another agent from one of the largest real estate companies in the country, and then they don't have it. They said, we don't have to do that. And they gave me another form, and here's that form. Oh, okay, I'll use that form too. Send it over. And then we use that form because the competitors are doing it. The MLS can't really enforce. And here's another thing. What enforcement? The MLS was supposed to enforce this, but the MLS has a problem enforcing it because if you're going to enforce it on, some of your members, smaller companies or certain realtors, but as the MLS that there's thousands of buyers not doing the buyer agreement that was set in the settlement, and which companies and which teams are doing it, but you're not enforcing it with them, then you can't enforce it with anybody else.
So they're not enforcing it. Have you heard of any enforcement?
No. You can't. It's very hard to enforce it when you have the biggest companies doing it, doing agreements that are not pertained to what the settlement said by saying before you tour or show a house, you're supposed to have on that agreement what you're going to charge that buyer, and you can't change it. Okay, you're not supposed to be able to change it. That part right there is not being adhered to, and you can't expect realtors to adhere to that when you have the largest companies not doing it because it gives them a competitive advantage.
My take on this, and tell me what your perspective is, since I work with a lot of realtors, what I notice is that before, that if there was, let's say, it showed like 2 and 2 for the buyer and the seller's agent, a realtor could see and say, oh, I really don't want to sell this property. I'm not making 2. Let me find another property. It's 3. But now I see when they submit an offer, if it's 2 or 2.5, they try to negotiate to 3. So it seems like if you're hungry and you want to sell the home, you'll get the 3%. Like if there's not that many offers going on, they accepted. Like right now, I think things are slower in general. So if you get an offer and it says 3%, you're more likely to accept it because you don't have that many offers. So I think more agents are getting the 3% than they normally would, because if you put it on the market saying you're only getting 1.5, you're kind of stuck to that. Now it seems like if you don't get that many offers and you're getting 3%, you might be like, hey, you might as well take it because you have no other offers, which leads to agents getting more money right now due to this market situation.
Yeah.
Am I wrong to say that?
Well, no. A lot of times, especially the newer agents, and especially agents that are working with these lead generation companies that are paying, anywhere from 25 to 70%, 25 to 70% referral, that the buyers don't know about that, right? The buyers aren't aware that they're paying that fee to these lead generation companies. So a lot of times you'll have buyers agents call and ask the listing agent, hey, where do I need to be to get 3, right? Because I got to pay, 60, 50, 40% of my commission off to this other company, so I need to get 3. So where do I need to be to get 3? And so the buyer's agent is now writing the offer to make sure they get 3, to get their 3. So the buyer usually doesn't know this, right? I mean, they might, but I would say most of the time they don't. But that's up to debate. But either way, it's not what the seller is offering. It's where do I need to be to get
pay the commission
3.
fee.
Right.
So technically, if you're at like 1.5, you may be breaking even, make no money.
No, if you
get a lead from a lead generation company and you owe them money and you know that fee that you're going to get is 1.5%, there's not a lot of money on the table if you're splitting a split.
No, the lead generation company agents, if they're only getting 1.5, they're not even going to do it. They're not even going to do it. They're just going to, and remember when Aaron Gordon was on here, he sees it all the time. Agents are like, yeah, I can't do this. I'm getting 1.5 and I got to pay 50, 60, 70, 30%, whatever it is. I can't do this. But the buyers don't know that. They just think, oh, yeah, they didn't.
So they'll be led to another home.
They'll
be like, hey, this isn't working out. We should.
Yeah, but the buyers, a lot of the buyers, depends. Some of the buyers will call back, their loan officer. A lot of the loan officers now are catching on to this, right? So the loan officers are educating the buyers, saying, hey, wait a minute, let me put you with my agent and let's see what happens. Like Aaron was talking about, the loan officers are starting to catch on because loan officers are losing deals to these lead generation companies because the lead generation companies now have their preferred lenders, right?
Okay.
So the realtors that used to give their preferred lender deals, they can't give their preferred lender deals anymore because they got to give those leads that they're getting from the lead generation company to the lead generation company's lender. And if they don't, no more leads. Simple as that.
So it's stated like in the contract that the lead comes in, basically you can work the lead, but it must go to our preferred lender.
It doesn't say it must go. They have to. They're sent a quota. It's on their website too. It's they have to send a certain amount back to the lead generation company, or the lead generation company will find another realtor to work with. Simple as that.
That doesn't seem kosher either. That seems like a monopoly to the lending company, right? Because now you're basically steering all these people.
A monopoly to the lead generation company, yes. And this is where NAR and MLS need to step up. They need to educate the public. Hey, when you go to these websites, it's going to cost you more money. This isn't free anymore, folks. Okay, this isn't free anymore. A lot of realtors have been gaslighted over this clear cooperation policy, and now they're realizing, oh, wait a minute. I thought clear cooperation policy was supposed to help the consumer. I thought it was supposed to help sellers. Is it helping realtors? I mean, do sellers, you have to put it on the MLS within 24 hours. That kind of hurts companies that, like these franchises and stuff. I mean, what good is a franchise anymore if you don't have anything unique? Like if I'm not going to go to your website, why would I go to a franchise? What's the point? Or any company. Me too. I mean, why if what's so unique about you if I have some unique proposition, but I can only advertise it for 24 hours on my website before I have to put it on the MLS and these lead generation companies, that harms me and harms my seller, harms the buyer because I can't offer that proposition for a long period of time to see what the market will really determine, right? There's a huge barrier to that. And does it prevent me 100%? No, but it puts these huge barriers up. And how many consumers, look, if there's a website out there that the seller could get the same value they would on the MLS, but pay less commission, pay less cost, don't you think it'd be advantageous for them to do that? At the very minimum, it creates more competition with these other lead generation companies. But, with these MLS policies and clear cooperation policy, it really puts huge barriers to be able to do that. And in fact, there's a lawsuit that just came up. We'll do this. I'll get some more information on this. But there's a lawsuit that just came up with Compass is suing Zillow. This could be huge. depending on how it turns out. And the big thing about it is not just the intricacies of how the MLS operates and NAR and these hundreds of MLSs operate. How were they talking with each other? How were they discussing stuff with each other? What business opportunities were they talking with each other? Was this company or was this doing something to help this company at the same time hurting realtors? I think that's the big thing that's going to come out of this with Compass. And another big thing that Compass might come out is consumers think that it's free when they go to these websites. They don't know about these hidden fees and these hidden costs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're a veteran and you're working you have two choices of a realtor, right? And you choose this realtor, but this realtor has to give 50, 60, 70% back to a referral fee. Don't you think as a veteran, you should know this? Because if that is true, how many veterans are going to work with that agent that has to give 50 to 70% referral back? That's a huge material fact to that. This agent over here, they get to keep all their money. So what does that mean? As a veteran, when I need that money to, if it's many people lose houses over, $5,000 to $10,000. Many. Now that veteran could say, hey, realtor over here, I want to take 1 point. You make 2. I'm take 1. I want to buy down the rate so I can offer more for that house. Or you know what? Instead of asking for 10,000 closing costs, I'm just going to ask for 5,000 closing costs. That gives me a better opportunity to get that house. And we know that there's hundreds, thousands of realtors that will work for that veteran for that because they're doing it over here. Because this agent over here, this agent who keeps all their commission is doing it for 2. This agent over here who's giving a referral out is doing it for less than 1 or maybe 1 because out of 3 points, they're giving away 70 many times. 50, 60, 70.
Don't you feel like the future tech, Dave, you really try to be transparent? It should be a disclosure of how much money is going towards the lead company and how much money is going towards you. Like you're putting the percentages now, but it affects the deal, technically, the consumer, by where money is going to different people or different real estate people.
You're not even a realtor. You're not in the real estate industry, and you just made more common sense than all these people talking about clear cooperation policy. Say that again.
So the bottom line is it should be transparent. There should be another document, a disclosure form that says where the money is going to, because I want to know as a consumer if there's commission of my home and it's being divvied up upon 2 realtors or another realtor in another state.
Or another company that's not
or
even
another
in.
company that's a real estate company. It should be a disclosure. I mean, it sounds like it should be transparent. There should be another form.
Is there?
Am I saying something that no one has ever said?
Well,
it's not transparent now, is what you're saying.
Well, a lot of realtors are saying that. Where's our leadership right now? That's a perfect example. It's a material fact. I mean, you're in the, you work with a lot of attorneys, legal. Don't you think that if the commission's $30,000 and, $20,000 is being pushed out somewhere else, isn't that going to have an impact on you as a buyer? Most likely. Or more importantly, what about the $400,000 house when the commission's whatever, let's just say 12 and 8,000 is being pushed out and you're a veteran and you're doing a VA loan or you're a first-time home buyer? I mean, why would you use that agent that's having to give away 7,000? Use this agent over here that gets to keep it all. And hey, Dave, I'm going to give you 5,000 so we can get that house for you. Not only that, we're going to be able to use that 5,000 maybe to buy down the rate.
I think most people that are first-time consumers or veterans, they're really scrounging up the money just to buy the home to make it through the door to get that home.
100%. You don't think that
every dollar really does count. So I'm saying I think it should be more transparent because you're right. If someone's using a generation company. There's probably money on the table if I used another realtor that's not using the lead generation company for me to have money towards closing costs or buying down the rate.
Now, what does common sense say? Common sense says that the person that doesn't have to pay the 30 to 70% referral, the person that does not, is going to have a higher likelihood of getting you that house, and definitely getting you a better deal.
The better deal, yes, but you said what? You said
getting the house. Because a lot of buyers are losing houses over, especially in the under 500 range. A lot of buyers are losing the house over $5,000 to $10,000 because they're asking for $5,000 or $10,000 in closing cost. Well, that $5,000 to $10,000 in closing cost is also the same amount that is going to the lead generation companies and the lead generation brokers that are dealing with it. So that I think out of the Zillow compass that could come out. And then once the public knows that, then that opens a big Pandora's box. And then also, so for example, Facebook put out, Facebook sent me a message, I don't know, about a year or 2 years ago. It said something about when you advertise with Facebook, go into our app. Don't use this app on this phone.
It costs more money on the Apple phone.
Yeah, yes, it's 30%.
Something
it was
new.
30% more, right? It's so go direct to us, and if you advertise $100 is going to go towards advertising.
Exactly, 100.
If you go to this site,
using your phone,
if you go to this site,
they charge like a
for $100
fee.
Yeah, for $100, only $70 of that is going to advertising. So don't you think that the MLSs should put this same kind of notice saying, hey, if you go here, there's not going to be any charges or any referral fees. If you go here, this is what the referral fees and referral charges are going to be.
I don't know why they did that. I remember doing it with the Facebook ad, and everyone's on their phone, so they're charging us a surcharge. Apple is.
I don't know the details on it. I just remember
you're using your phone. If you go online to the Meta business page, it's cheaper.
But no, I think if you go on, I think if you go on Meta Direct,
it's cheaper.
Yeah,
but I know on the phone it says that. Like,
and not only that, look at the government went after Airbnb and these other companies. I'm not sure Airbnb, but the people charging there's all these companies, real estate related and non-real estate related, like Ticketmaster and all that are charging these hidden fees, surcharges.
Fees.
But they're hidden, right? Well, they have to disclose that. The resort fees, right? That was all, all this. Well, similar thing is going on now in the real estate industry. The consumer doesn't know exactly where all this commission's going. Now, if it didn't matter, it didn't have an impact on the deal, then that's one thing. But, these referral fees have a major, major impact on the transaction, several different reasons.
There's a lot of fees that things need to be more transparent in general. The luxury market is booming right now. Who is the top luxury real estate company right now?
No, that's easy. King Zillow. King Zillow generates more luxury leads, more luxury buyers than any other real estate company by far. In fact, my friends that are Zillow Flex, I got for all over the country. I just had one the other day. This was one guy, right, that works for Zillow Flex. He's an agent for him. He got a $3 million buyer that contacted him. He showed him 5 homes and then put him into contract on a brand new home for 3.3. And then he got a $1.7 million luxury buyer. This is another team. She got a $1.7 million luxury listing, and then she got a 1.2. That 1.7 was a buyer, and then I have another friend that got a $5 million listing from Zillow Flex. From Zillow, and then that's just Zillow Flex. Also, the Zillow Premier agents are getting a ton of my friends out here are getting Zillow luxury buyers like they'd never seen before. So How is that?
Why luxury guys used to always be a little bit different, right? They were like,
well,
hey,
in the past,
relationships.
This has a lot to do with the clear cooperation policy and all that. So the luxury, there's no. These luxury brands don't have an advantage anymore because in the past, before clear cooperation policy just made it to where once you put the house, once you get the listing, you have to have it in the MLS within 24 hours. So you can't market it privately or anything like that. You can't put it on your website publicly. And if you do, Zillow may not put it on their website at all, ever, as your listing agent. Because of clear cooperation policy, and this
so they found that you were marketing it on the side before it went on.
Yes, they can. So now the agents are like, wait a minute, if I do this and my client says, hey, why isn't my house on Zillow? I could lose the listing, right? So people aren't going to take that risk of, most people aren't. I think, that the Compass is a separate story, which we'll talk about later. But if you're a luxury realtor and you try and market that house for more than 24 hours on your own, then Zillow may not put that in.
How would they find out?
The competitors are going to tell them. That's easy. Hey, you know what? These people are advertising off the MLS, and they've listed it like 3 days ago or 4 days ago, 5 days ago. They're competitors,
It's
right?
not on Zillow.
This is super competitive. Yeah, it's or the MLS, right? So the other luxury agents are going to say, hey, this luxury guy is taking advantage. You know, if I can't do it, he can't do it because it's a competitive advantage, right? So now the luxury teams have lost probably half their business on the buyer side, right? Because, or maybe more. I would say even more. And the reason why is in the past, you know, a lot of these buyers would contact the listing agent on the luxury. Well, now they're going to the lead generation companies, and lead generation companies are directing them to their agent. And now their agents are showing these luxury homes. But, you know, the King Zillow pretty much crushed the franchises, and they've, by taking control of the search function. I warned about this 8-10 years ago. Once you lose the search function, you're done. And that's what happened to all these franchises. Go look at their stock prices. Don't take my word for it. And because the franchises can't generate buyers for their agents anymore. They can generate buyers, but they can't generate high quality buyers like, you know, the portals like Zillow and Redfin and Realtor.com, right? They lost that function. They used to partner with these companies, and now these franchises didn't invest in their own portal to generate buyers from their own listings, right? So, you know, a lot of times when these franchises and these MLM companies get listings, when they get listings, those buyers used to go to the listing agent or that broker, that company, right? Now, many of those buyers, when they go on these portals, they don't go there. They're directed toward the lead generation company agent, right? So the luxury agents, they're not dumb. They see that they're buyers, that they're losing, you know, millions of dollars a year because those buyers that used to contact them for their listings are being redirected. And they know this because a lot of the luxury agents, right, they meet the buyer with the agent at the house. And they're realizing they're talking to the buyer, and this agent knows nothing, and they know that the buyer was trying to get a hold of them, but they were redirected. This is not their opinion. The buyer's saying, oh, yeah, I tried to get a hold of you. And so now that luxury agent is losing millions of dollars in commissions because those buyers that used to go to them, that was even looking for them, have been redirected.
Redirected to another agent that's part of like Premier or Flex.
That's part of a lead generation company, right? So that commission that used to go to the luxury agent, broker, or company is now going to that agent's company and the lead generation company, right? So now the luxury agents they're not going to stand by. They've seen what happens, and they're smarter. They're in the trenches. They know, okay, listen, if you want to use that to your advantage, we're going to use this to our advantage. So now many of the luxury agents, the top ones, and it's starting to become more common, they're putting in the MLS appointment listing agent. And so now they're screening the calls. And, you know, they're letting the owner know. They're going, hey, Mr. Owner, Mrs. Owner, this is how we're going to do this. Because, when a buyer's trying to contact me, they should be able to get a hold of me. I know more about your house than anybody else. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put appointment listing agent on there, and I'm going to screen the calls for you. And when I get a call from an agent, if this agent works for a lead generation company, we're going to hold off for 4 or 5, 10 days. And we're going to hope, and most likely it's going to happen because, see, the luxury, there's not 10 or 20 of them, right? There's only a few, so it's easy to do this. We're going to wait for the buyer to figure out how to contact me direct. Because
how they figure out?
The buyers, if the buyer wants to see a house and they can't get in, they're going to go, well, let's try again. Well, why isn't this agent able to get in? Well, who's the listing agent? Now they dive a little deeper, right? Because, well, let's just contact the listing agent direct. Well, I thought we did. No, that wasn't the listing agent. Okay, so let's contact the listing agent. So now that buyer can contact the listing agent, and now the listing agent can show them and represent them, and they know more about the house than anybody else anyways. And at the same time, the luxury agent can tell the buyer or the seller, hey, listen, if I represent the buyer, I'm going to knock off 1 or 2 points. Well, guess what? That's $40,000, $50,000. And they're going to get better service, better knowledge, and better experience most of the time. So now the luxury agents are starting to realize, listen, hey, you know what? Since there isn't 4 or 5 homes like yours or 2 or 3 homes, whatever, we know that that buyer sooner or later is going to contact us. So we're going to put in their appointment listing agent, and we're going to screen it. And if that buyer agent contacts us, we're not going to call them for, we're not going to set up the appointment for 5 to 10 days. And let's see if that buyer contacts us. And if we don't have a buyer contact us in 5 to 10 days, then we'll contact that agent back. And the luxury agents, they know what agents get from lead generation companies, and they can tell. And I've talked to a few of them, and we've already seen it several times, because so that's how the luxury agents and luxury teams and the luxury companies are pushing back against them losing the search function and pushing back against these policies that many believe are not transparent and are possibly anti-competitive, right? That's what some are saying. That's what part of the Compass lawsuit is about, that we'll talk about later. So now we're starting to see that here's a funny story. So this agent had a $3 million listing. The other agent worked in his office, but not on his team, right? And the buyer contacted her through the lead generation company, right? The buyer thought that they were working with the listing agent. The agent said, "Oh yeah, I work with the listing agent. We're in the same office. We work together, blah, blah, blah." So the buyer thought that this agent was the listing agent or worked like on the same team, right?
Okay.
So the transaction goes through. Halfway through, the listing agent found out that the buyer was actually trying to contact him. And the agent portrayed it like she worked for him. Well, that was a $90,000 commission. $90,000 commission.
But they work for the same company or not same team?
They work for the same company, not the same team. So that listing agent lost a $90,000 commission because they were redirected. And that agent, that's what agents do. They redirect. I mean, I'm paying for the lead. I'm going to redirect them, right? So, or the lead generation company is going to redirect them, right? And it's their job to do it. So that listing agent was furious because that was $90,000 out of his pocket.
Let me ask you a question. I get really confused with this these days because I thought the laws changed. If I go into Zillow and I look up a house and John is the listing agent, is John showing up there or different agents are rotating?
No. So,
was it Zillow? Was it Zillow Flex? Zillow?
So
Premier?
the listing,
why is it not the person that has the listing?
It depends on what listing. Here's the problem. NAR and the local MLSs have made a mess of this. They should make it completely transparent. If you go to LasVegasRealtor.com, that's how it should be, right?
Okay.
When you see the listing agent right there, and when it says contact agent, it says contact agent, you get that agent. That's what it looks like. That's what the public thinks. So many sites, they'll have the listing agent buried, or they'll have the listing agent right here, and they'll have a button
at the bottom.
or it says contact agent. Well, most of the public, right, they think, or a lot of the public thinks that when you hit contact agent, you're getting this listing agent or that brokerage.
I always thought that way in the beginning. And then on the bottom, like, it shows like the listing. They're hiding the listing agent.
What did you just say?
It's not transparent.
What did you just say?
They're hiding the listing agent.
Yeah, but what did you just say when you hit contact agent? What did you think you were going to get?
I always thought, because I would say, "Oh, tell me about the property." You could just tell some of them didn't really know about the property. Sometimes I was looking in Florida. Hey, tell me about the property. And like, you could just tell they were kind of scrounging around to figure out the information. They didn't have the knowledge because basically it's just a random agent that's picking up. But if you scroll down to the bottom somewhere, like hidden, you could find out who the listing agent was. So a lot of times I would hang up the phone and try to find out the listing agent because I want to deal directly with the listing agent to get the better deal and to avoid this commission and negotiate directly to the guy. Well, or maybe to be a dual agent. I'm an investor, right? I'm an investor doing that.
You're very knowledgeable and experienced, right? In the beginning, you know. But when you first started doing that, when you hit contact agent.
Totally thought it was the listing agent. And some people don't know what the word listing agent means, listing. I thought it was the agent that was representing them. When you use these words like list and so on, the average consumer does not know what the hell you're talking about.
No.
Listing agent, what does that even mean? Ask 20 people. We should walk down Fremont Street. What does it mean when, we should do this actually, for the list 1%, stuff like that. What does it mean when you see listing agent? 10 people, I would say 9 people would say, I have no fucking clue.
Yeah, but the average consumer, when they're looking for homes and it hits contact agent, they think they're contacting the agent.
It's a problem.
That is selling the property.
It's not clear. It's totally like a disguise. It's totally made up. It's not fair. It's not right to the consumer. It should be whoever has the listing should be there, period. It should be a law. If you think about it, when you basically have a listing and you put up a sign in front of that house, you know who the listing agent is. Why is it on social media or online? It's different.
I said this 6 years ago. It's so funny. On stage in front of the realtor convention,
It's like you're doing it for real on real property, but online it's a facade.
That's exactly what I said. All the realtors out there, I said, listen, if you have a listing and I put my sign in the front yard of your listing, what would you do with that sign? Well, first of all, it's unethical, illegal, and you would burn that sign. You would take that sign and throw it out. But yet, online,
It's acceptable.
online, it's even worse because people don't even go by the house anymore. So now that same principle, that same example I give you is online right now. I'm putting my sign in front of your listing. And I did put my sign in front of all those agents' listings because I was paying for leads. I still pay for leads. So my sign is going in front of their listings right now on the websites.
Just thinking about which.
And a lot of my listings have their signs. Other people are paying. So who's that hurting? The consumer. Because I have to charge more to the consumer because they came to me through a lead generation site. I'm not going to eat that 20, 30, 40, 50%. I got to pass that on to the consumer. And many times people have asked me, hey, you charged my friend this much. Why are you charging me this much? Well, your friend came to me direct. You went to this website and found me this way, so I got to pay that website. They're like, well, I didn't know that. I know. I'm sorry. Can't do nothing about it.
The bottom line is I laugh because you talk about transparency and stuff. It's probably worse now than it was before. What I was about to say to you, which is I don't know if this is still around because technology. You know how they talk about things being in the meta, that basically this is what they say, the meta, like you could buy real estate in the meta, like basically.
Oh yeah.
Am I saying it right?
NFTs and stuff.
Stuff like that. Supposedly, like our whole world can be in the meta, like the NFTs and stuff like that.
Right.
So I'm thinking like for that, you could just put your sign wherever you want in that type of world.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like no one really cares. So because there's I think Snoop Dogg like a home or a location on the meta, if I'm saying it correctly.
Yeah.
And so my main thing is why not put the sign all over the place, in general, and then these properties in the meta world,
Yeah.
So the bottom line is it's not transparent. I never thought it was right. I never fully understood it. But the bottom line is, when you call that number, everyone thinks that you're getting the listing agent, and they don't even know what listing means. They just think it's the agent that represents that seller, period.
Right.
Forget the words listing.
Right.
It represents the seller. And then it's a disguise. It's not transparent. It's not right. You want to talk about basically this is the number one thing in regards to being transparent is who the hell represents that seller.
Right.
And if it's a for sale by owner, right, it because the guy's got a sign or it says for sale by owner. A lot of the websites, the for sale by owner websites, it says, right, Johnny's the owner of the home and he's selling it for sale by owner. Why is it any different than if the person who represents that person, just like a lawyer, if a lawyer represents somebody, you have a letter, a document, I represent that person and nobody else can talk to them. You can't even solicit them, just like a realtor. But why is it acceptable online? Because they want to make money. It all goes back to the money situation, and then it does affect the consumer.
Right. I got a perfect example. So about a year and a half ago, these sellers called me and were furious because they went online, found a house on Zillow, and they were looking to find the listing agent, and they contacted who they thought was the listing agent. So they met the agent out there, wrote the offer, looking for the deal, and then already into the transaction, they realized that the agent had nothing to do with the listing agent or the listing broker. And the seller said, hey, why didn't you just contact us direct, or why didn't you just contact my listing agent? Well, we thought this was the listing agent. And they go, why? Well, I had to pay. I had to charge you. I charged an extra $25,000 because I had to pay for the realtor's commission. And the people were furious, and they went back to that realtor. They said, hey, you know what? Cancel this listing because you told us that you were working for this listing agent and this broker. You said you worked with them. Oh, no. So they tried to backpedal. The deal was already in escrow, so, there's nothing they could do about.
Mm-hmm.
And the seller specifically told them, yeah, I mean, you can look here. I was gonna sell it for this much, but you brought in this agent, so I had to pay $25,000 more. So they paid an extra $25,000 because they didn't know. And this was their fourth or fifth house that they purchased. And so they canceled the listing with that agent that did that, and they listed their house with me. That's how I know about that story. And then there's another example where my friend had a listing, and it was a 800, and short story, the seller said, okay, do all this. The agent kicked in, I think like $1,500. And then it was time for the other buyer's agent to kick in, like $700. And the agent said, yeah, I can't do it. I can't do it because I got to pay all this out. So the buyer lost that house. And but the agent specifically said, no, I can't reduce my commission because I got to pay this. Okay, did you tell the buyer that? No, the buyer thought they lost the house for who knows whatever reason, but they lost that house over $700, and that buyer never even knew it because that agent wouldn't kick in anything because they couldn't. So that agent, it's more profitable for him to go find that buyer another house than take a hit. Well, that buyer doesn't know, and who knows? That buyer might not have found a house. You lose everything.
You know, as the problem solver, my goal is to basically bring problems to people's attention and come up with a solution, or to help people with problems. That's what I basically do on a daily basis. But one of the problems, right, that I basically realized today is that when you call, if you're looking to buy a home and you're going to call someone, you're looking up a house or address that you drive by, and you talk to that person, you have to say, hey, are you the listing agent? And if they're not the listing agent, you have to say, can you let me know? It'd be funny to call right now, like one of the things. Who is the listing agent?
Yeah.
Would they hide that? Would they decide that?
We'll do that.
So we have to get on the phone, call,
yes,
look up an address.
Yeah.
It's actually interesting. We could like do my wife's address,
yes,
my wife's house, and say, hey, I'm looking for the listing agent. Are you the listing agent? And they're gonna walk around it. They're gonna tiptoe around it. Like, oh, you don't need to contact them. You can contact me. But you need to ask for the listing agent and then figure it out somehow in order to basically probably get a better price or to get the deal, because the listing agent, right, represents that seller. And most likely, statistically, you probably have to get a better deal by going through the actual listing agent. Would you agree?
Oh, I would say 90% of the time. And agents if 90% of the time, and here's a perfect example. My friend, he wrote an offer on a $1.8 million listing. And the, quote, luxury agent was on stage telling everybody how they always never discount their commission, blah, 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 blah. So anyways, he writes an offer, sends it over at 2.5. They send back and say, no, 1.5. The agent goes, well, my seller doesn't want to pay 2.5 because I'm only getting 1.5. Well, you were just on stage saying that you don't discount your commission, right? Well, here's the kicker. It goes into escrow. This agent double-ended it and did 1.5 for buyer, 1.5 for seller. So that's a perfect example right there that the seller saved, what was that, $40,000? Because the other buyer went direct to the listing agent on a luxury home, and the seller saved $40,000, where the buyer that my friend represented, he wanted 2.5%. Well, the seller said no, so they found another house. But that's exactly to your point. The buyer that went direct got the house, and the seller paid less commission. And that's a luxury deal. And to your point about calling people, right? We'll do it separate. We'll do it another time. But I'm
just curious. Here it says call a local agent. So on the Zillow, it doesn't say, right? Is that what it's saying these days? It looks a little bit different.
It says
it does say listed by, but there's no phone number.
Yeah, well, and when you hit contact, hit contact agent, it will go to that agent where people think they're going to listing agent.
But but don't you think like the number should be there? Like, why is the listing agent's not number in the spot? But if you go further down here, right, it basically says contact agent, which that would be a lead, and in the bottom it says ready to talk to an agent now. If I call that number,
see, so we've done this, right? This lender. And his name is Crockett. So we did it one time. We called 5. We did it 5 times, right? 4 of the people said they were the listing agent. 4 of the agents that answered the phone said they were the listing agent. And the 5th one said, yeah, I work with the listing agent. I can help you. But 4 of them flat out said, we are the listing agent. And one of them, we talked for like 3 or 4 minutes trying to get them to, backtrack. No. And then another one of my friends, he's a realtor, they were advertising his house and pretending they were him. And the agent So his wife went out there and filmed everything, and the whole time they were saying that they worked with the listing agent, and he didn't even work for the same company.
All right, Steve, tell me in regards to the median price of a home these days, what's going on in regards to that? Is that like relative to real people today?
Yeah, the median price, I don't know why realtors continue to quote that. It's one of the worst indicators that you could possibly use. First of all, especially here in Las Vegas, because the median, most people don't understand what the median is. The median is just the halfway point, right? So if you have, for like example in Vegas, the hedge funds bought many of the entry-level, low-price homes, right? So that's going to skew the median price because on the lower end, you don't have that many transactions there. So you don't have that many transactions there, you're skewed up on the median price. So that's one reason why the median is not accurate at all.
What do you think it is, like 465,
I think it's
45?
460, 480 or something right now, 470. And then another reason why is when you're talking about a median price, they're using all the homes, right? The house,
Average it all together.
The house that built in 1950, that's going up or down the same amount as a house that's $1 million in Summerlin? Or what about the house that was just built in 2024? You're going to compare that to 1950? Or the house in I can go on and on, right?
So it's not a good indicator, not a good number.
No, you're comparing. You got to look at
apples
zip
to
codes.
apples.
Yeah, apples to apples. You're comparing the median price is not, there's 1 stories, 2 stories, homes with pools, homes without pools. All of that determines if your house is going up or down right now. And right now, certain areas are going down a lot more. Certain areas are actually still going up, right? Some houses are going to fall a lot more than others, right? For example, let's say, there could be 20 houses that were 800 that now sell for 600 and sold. And there could be 10 houses that were 450 that sold for 425. But guess what? With that scenario, it's going to actually increase the median price. Even though every home, I just told you right there, dropped, the median price would actually go up because half of them would be above 455, right? Bad indicator. So a lot of people are saying, hey, I see the median price went up. Well, that doesn't make sense because I go on Zillow and all the homes in my neighborhood are down $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. This is why, King Zillow is getting more eyeballs and getting the consumers. So if I'm a realtor and I'm quoting the median price and the LVR comes out and tells the news, hey, the median price is going up, but yet I go to Zillow and I look at the charts and the charts are going down, 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 and this house sold for 500, it used to be 550. Well, that's going to give King Zillow more credibility because my eyes are matching what I see on Zillow, right? So if I go on in my neighborhood, if I go on and someone tells me the prices are going up, the median price went up, but my eyes tell me that the prices are going down because I can see what's going on. I can see the house sell. There's a disconnect there. So the median price needs to go away or explain to people what it really is, right? So, and we have enough technology now. We don't need to keep on quoting the median price. What's the value of homes? Well, what area are you in? I mean, it only takes 10 seconds. Here, you're in this area. You're in this zip code. This is what you got to qualify for. And for example, are you within 5-mile radius of new homes? Because if you are, there's more likelihood that your house is going to drop more than if you're 10 to 20 miles away from a new home.
So you basically have to really...
Because new homes are dropping a lot.
So just real quickly, so in regards to the market today, which is what? What's today's date here? Let's get the date out, right? I'm losing here. On June 25th, Wednesday. What is the market right now in regards to, it seems like it's stagnant, people are not really confident, or do we still feel the California buyers are coming in? No. Where are we at right now?
Hey, what's the famous word right now everybody's using? Prices are stabilizing. Anytime a realtor tells you prices are stabilizing,
that means they're going down?
That means they're going down. They're stabilizing. They're not stabilizing. Come on. Go on. All these people are going on Zillow and they're looking at the graphs. Wait a minute here. 2024, my house is up here. Now it's down here. That graph is historic numbers, right? Okay. So it's not opinion. It's not subjective. This is what the price was right here. That house sold in 2024 for this price. So now that house sold for this price. That's historic, right? It's different than they're not determining what the current value is, right? The chart shows what they were and what they're coming down, what they're going up. So you don't have to quote the median price. If you want to know what the values of your houses in your neighborhood, go on those charts and go pick 10 or 15 houses in your neighborhood and see what the charts are doing. That's easiest.
So you would say
way.
it's going down a little bit.
The prices are
Stabilizing.
the homes under 500
Okay.
will most likely drop at least 20% from their peak, right?
Okay.
But that's not a lot compared to how it used to be, because even though that home
So 20% decrease from their peak of probably a year ago.
about a year and a half, I think, was the peak. But
Okay.
we'll see. But it's 20% from the peak, right? Well, that's still, even if it drops 20% from the peak, that's still 50, 60, 70% up from 2019.
Okay.
So you ain't losing 20%. You're just making 80% instead of 100%.
Got it. This is an interesting thing just to throw on there because of list your home at 1%. Technically, if you have an agent that's charging you 3% and the market is down a little bit and you're losing some money because of 2019 to 2025, and there's you want to call it the decrease, a downward stabilization. That's a good one, downward stabilization. By listing your home at 1% instead of 3%, you're saving the 2% extra money. So by having an agent that basically is charging the full 3%, it would help if you had someone that's charging you 1%.
Well, yeah.
Especially if things are going a little bit downwards and you're trying to make money, especially on a luxury home. I have someone that I know that's a home $1.5 million. I'm saying, hey, if you list at 1%, then basically you're saving 2%. In the long run, it's still about
right. It's
$34,000.
It's going to give you a little more commission.
It's
going to give you a little more cushion from that. But also with the new clear cooperation policy rules, you have to have that property in the MLS within 24 hours. So the clear cooperation policy pretty much made realtors a commodity now. So what's your unique proposition? Well, you're going to be on this website. You're going to be here. You're going to be there. Well, I don't care about being on the website. Why would I pay extra to be on that website over here
when everyone's
on this one, and everyone knows you have to put it on this website? So even if I went to this website, it doesn't matter.
So what makes you different?
Because it doesn't matter if I'm on this website because I've already been here. So all the buyers that may go to this off-the-wall website, they're already on Zillow or Redfin or Realtor.com because MLS says you have to have that in the MLS within 24 hours.
Which then goes on to Zillow.
Yeah, and Zillow, Realtor.com. And if you don't do that, then Zillow might not put your house on the website at all.
So people are scared, so they're going to list it correctly.
They have to.
So what makes you different? You're saying that the commission that you're offering is different to help someone?
The experience, the knowledge,
Okay.
The marketing, and then when the people come in, I'm very experienced and knowledgeable with loans, right? So that gives us a huge advantage because right now you have the biggest fallout rate, the highest fallout rate ever in Las Vegas, highest ever. So when we have deals come in, I already know if the loan officer is, knows what they're doing or if they're, not telling us the truth. We ask them, what kind of credit report did you pull? Did they pull their taxes? What are the conditions left? And I know if a lead generation company sends over a pre-approval, I know that's garbage. In fact, perfect example. I had a seller that got an offer from a lead generation company, right? And that lead generation company, the agent used the lead generation company lender. And I said, I had the seller counter for them to use their in-house lender because I knew the in-house lender for that company. And the agent said, well, I got to use this lender. I'm not going to we won't get any more leads. We have a quota. I go, I don't care because I know this pre-approval is garbage. So I want this loan officer at your office that's in your office to pre-approve. Well, what do you think happened? The loan officer calls me and goes, yeah, Steve, I can't pre-approve these guys. Oh, I figured that. Well, why? They didn't even have their taxes. They didn't even file their taxes, and yet this lead generation company gave them an approval and even ordered the appraisal, right? And so 2 or 3 weeks down the line, this lead generation company lender says, oh, sorry, we can't get the loan done. Well, yeah, we know that, but luckily my friend, who's the in-house lender for this company, was doing the loan and said, yeah, well, I'm going to have a hard time. We might be able to do it. But the buyers had to jump through hoops, do a whole bunch of things I won't get into. And finally, that loan officer got that deal done, right? But if I If it would have been a normal listing agent, they would have accepted that and the deal would have fell apart. The seller who was buying another house would have lost that house. It would have been a huge disaster. Would have cost my seller thousands of dollars
By waiting,
flat out.
by waiting and canceling, you mean?
Canceling, and then she would have lost the house that we got for her that was under market.
The other house.
And after we sold her house, the values came down.
So being an experienced realtor, knowing who the lender is on the other side can help you make a decision whether to accept the offer or not. Because if it doesn't go through, you wasted time, and you're in contract, then it gets canceled. Especially if you're in contract with another home, the home could also go down over the next few months as well.
Hey,
So all these things come together in regards to the experience.
our home price is going up or down right now?
It's a stabilization.
Home prices are
It's a
going
downward
down.
stabilization.
Home prices are going down right now. So if you waste time on a buyer that isn't approved for the loan, then
You can
lost
lose more money.
You lost money.
Okay, real quickly to bring up the topic in regards to rates, Jerome Powell. What does he have to do to make this go up a little bit? Is a 0.25% enough? Is it a 0.5%? If this guy totally just moves the rates, what changes the market, whether for Vegas or for all over the U.S.? What does it have to be? Is it 0.5 point? Is that too much?
Mortgage rates have to get in the fives, but the new homes, their rates are in the fives right now.
Because they're buying down the rate.
But the new homes, their rates are in the 5, and for the past 12 months, they've seen their transactions go up until now. So new homes transactions in May fell sharply. So now the new homes are offering 3.9 and then 4.9 fixed for 30 years. Their transactions have dropped. So, 3 months ago, if the interest rates went to 5, then transactions would go back up, right? But now this is June. We're not in April anymore. So now you're asking me, where do the mortgage rates need to go to get that same bump we got 3 months ago? Well, now we need 4.5 to get that same bump because we see the new homes at 5% and they lost that bump, and the new homes are reducing their prices. So now we can accurately say, hey, if the interest rates dropped a point to 6, would that help the real estate market? No, it's not going to see that much of a impact. We'll see a little bump for 90 days, and then it'll be back to how we're seeing right now. And we know this because we see the new homes. Also, if Jerome Powell drops the rates a point and the mortgage rates fall a point, it's still, for many homes, isn't going to compensate for the amount that the insurance rates have gone up.
So just recap, for new homes, can you get 3.9 and 4.9 for 30 years?
You can get right now, new homes are doing 3.9 for 1 or 2 years, and then fixed for 4.9. Fixed 4.9.
Someone was saying it jumps. So 3.9 for like the first year or two.
Yeah, it jumps to 4.9, and that 4.9 is fixed for 30 years.
So you could get 4.9, which is still a good rate.
Yeah.
But the home was, and so basically new home sales is still where it's at in regards to getting a new home instead of getting an old home with 7% or 7.5%.
Correct. And
but small square footage most likely.
The new homes, no. Right now, a new home, apples for apples, in many areas is less than a resale because the resale is still trying to get more, right? See, the resale owners, they're emotional. They think they got the best house on the block. Sometimes they do. And so they're holding out, right? They're emotional. They want this because they need to do this. The true value of the market in the area, if there's new homes there, is new homes because new homes don't care. They're not emotional. It's transactional. It's all about we need to sell as many houses as we can for the highest possible profit margin. So if that's 600, great. Put them at 600. If that's 700, do 700. If that's 500, do 500. So now those brand new homes that were 600, a lot of them are 550, 500 now. Now don't look at their pricing sheet because the pricing sheet doesn't move that much. The builders add and take away lot premiums. What you need to do when you go buy a new home is in all that, go pull up on the tax records all the streets in that area and see what they sold for, because those people paid, they might have paid $600 base price, but they had $150,000 lot premium. Where the guy across the street that has the same house, same model, same size lot, only paid a $25,000 lot premium. So what does that mean? That means the builder dropped their price of about $125,000.
Got it.
But they used a lot premium to raise and lower the price, not the price sheet.